So in this recording, I want to read a parable written by Paramahansa Yogananda. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who is a yogi and an author. You may be familiar with his work. He wrote The Autobiography of a Yogi. And Steve Jobs, I believe, he said it's one of his favorite books. I think Elvis said it was one of his favorite books. It came out in the late 40s, but he's basically like a spiritual guru, a yogi. And if you're into self-development and spirituality, you've probably heard of Autobiography of a Yogi. Like, that's a very, very popular book. It has a lot of commercial success. So I'm going to read a parable from something that he's written, and then I'll have some commentary on it after I'm done reading it. The parable is called The Lion Who Became a Sheep. A lioness, huge with an unborn baby lion in her body, was growing weak from lack of food. As the baby lion grew heavier within her, she could not move quickly enough to catch any prey. Roaring with sadness and hunger, and heavy with the baby lion, the lioness fell asleep at the edge of a forest near a pasture. As she dozed, she dreamt of seeing a flock of sheep grazing. When, in her dream, she pounced on one of the sheep, she jerked herself awake. With surprise and great joy, she discovered that her dream was true. A large flock of sheep grazed in the pasture right near her. Forgetting the heavy baby lion within her body, and impelled by the madness of hunger, the lioness pounced on one of the young lambs and took it into the depths of the forest. The lioness did not realize that during the exertion of her mad leap at the lamb, she had given birth to the baby lion. The flock of sheep were so paralyzed with fear by the attack of the lioness that they couldn't run away. When the lioness had departed and the panic was over, the sheep woke from their stupor. They began to bleat out lamentations for their lost comrade, when, to their great astonishment, they discovered the helpless baby lion crooning in their midst. One of the mother sheep took pity on the baby lion and adopted it as her own. The young lion grew up amidst the flock of sheep. Several years have passed, and there, with a flock of sheep, roamed a huge lion with a long mane and tail, behaving exactly like a sheep. The sheep lion bleated instead of roaring and ate grass instead of meat. This vegetarian lion acted exactly like a weak, meek lamb. One day, another lion strolled out of the nearby forest onto the green pasture, and to his great delight, beheld this flock of sheep. Thrilled with joy and whispered by hunger, the great lion pursued the fleeting flock of sheep, when in amazement he saw a huge lion, with tail high up in the air, fleeing at top speed ahead of the sheep. The older lion paused for a moment, scratched his head, and pondered within himself. I can understand the sheep flying away from me, but I cannot imagine why this stalwart lion should run at the sight of me. This runaway lion interests me. Ignoring his hunger, he raced hard and pounced upon the escaping lion. The lion sheep fainted with fear. The big lion was puzzled more than ever and slapped the sheep lion out of his swoon. In a deep voice, he rebuked, "What's the matter with you? Why do you, my brother, flee from me?" The sheep lion closed his eyes and bleated out in sheep language, "Please let me go. Don't kill me. I'm just a sheep brought up with yonder flock." "Oh, now I see why you are bleating." The big lion pondered again, and a great idea flashed upon him. He caught the sheep lion by the mane with his great mighty jaws and dragged him toward a lake at the end of the pasture. When the big lion reached the shore of the lake, he pushed the sheep's lion head so that it was reflected in the water. He began to shake the sheep lion, who still had his eyes tightly closed, saying, "Open your eyes. Look, you are not a sheep." "Bleat, bleat, bleat. Please don't kill me. Let me go. I am not a lion, but only a poor meek sheep," wailed the sheep lion. The big lion gave the sheep lion a terrible shake. The sheep lion opened his eyes and was astonished to find that the reflection of his head was not as he expected, a sheep's head, but a lion's head, like that of the lion who was shaking him with his paw. Then the big lion said, "Look at my face and your face reflected in the water. They are the same. My face roars. Now, you must roar instead of bleating." The lion sheep, convinced, tried to roar, but could only produce bleat-mingled roars. As the older lion continued to exhort him with slapping paws, the sheep lion at last succeeded in roaring. Then both lions bounded across the pasture, entered the forest, and returned to the den of lions. So the basis of this story, at least in my opinion, just really illustrates the fact that we are beyond powerful, and our self-image and the way that we view ourselves, the level of self-belief that we have, will literally dictate how we perceive the world and the things that we are able to do in our life. So many of us are limited by our own self-perception, and because of that, we do not have the confidence to do the things that we want to do and do the things that deep down we know we can do. Just like when the sheep lion looked into the reflection and saw that he was not a sheep, he was a lion. If you can take a deep look at yourself in the mirror and know that you are powerful beyond measure, and like you have reservoirs of potential within you to do the things that you want to do, only then are you going to be able to actually do those things. If you live in fear, because you care about what other people think of you, if you're afraid to do the things that you want to do because you're afraid of the opinions of other people, then you are never going to be able to live to your highest potential and succeed in whatever endeavor you want to pursue. And that is just simple fact. If you're afraid of what other people think of you, or you are afraid to be yourself, you're never going to reach the heights that you can reach. Let go of old conditioning or programming and realize that it doesn't matter what even the closest people around you have to say. If they make you feel limited, whether that be your friends or your family or loved ones, it doesn't matter. Society, it doesn't matter. Your environment plays such a crucial role in your perception of the world and the way that you perceive yourself. And if you're around people that make you feel limited and small, then you are going to carry yourself subconsciously in that manner. You are not going to have the confidence that you could have. And the second you face some sort of resistance in the things that you're doing, because you don't have that foundational level of belief, you're just not going to pursue it anymore. The second it gets difficult, you're going to stop. Your environment dictates how you show up in the world. Curating your environment in a way that elevates your state of being so you can be more confident, have higher levels of energy to pursue the things that you want is critical. So in whatever possible way you can, and you have more influence on this than you may think, you can create an environment that promotes higher levels of energy, more productivity, elevated levels of confidence. You can surround yourself with the content that you consume, the people that you follow, the kind of foods you're eating. All of these things matter. Whether or not you're practicing presence, so your internal world is decluttered, whether or not your room or your workspace is organized, these are all ways you can improve your environment that are going to, like I said, help you in many regards, in many different facets, whether it's your overall level of energy or your confidence. The sheep lion, surrounded by sheep and brought up as a sheep, saw himself as a sheep. Sometimes it takes a slap in the face to wake up and realize that you could be more, that you could do more. And it may not necessarily be a slap in the face. It doesn't have to be as harsh as a slap in the face. It could be listening to a recording like this, or listening to another podcast or another video of someone that inspires you or motivates you. To wake up and realize that you have more potential than you think. And what is currently going on doesn't necessarily need to be your end destination. Look at yourself in the mirror, know that you have deep reservoirs of potential within you, and you could be, do, or have the things that you want. It may take effort, it may take change, it may take you changing your identity, like who you genuinely see yourself to be within, but it's possible. Old conditioning that's programmed you to perceive your life the way that it is, if it's not beneficial to you, or if you're around people that don't necessarily have your best interest in mind, you can change and you can grow and you can get better but it all starts with your environment and your self-image and the way that you genuinely perceive yourself.